Okay, girls, so we are going to look at page 361, the car park question with the road. So what we have with the road when there's a car park involved is we basically have two different pieces. So we have the road part and we have the car park part. Okay, and we're going to deal with those separately when we're looking at any of these questions. So what we have first of all is the same as really the stuff that we were looking at before, except with this one it says that the figure shows ground contours at 2 meter intervals. So that's different than what we've been looking at with the 4 and the 5, but all that does is change what we multiply our ratios with. Then AB shows a proposed roadway with C, D, E, F being the car park. The car park is level, so important with the level, and is the same level as the road. Okay, the road and the car park are to have the following specifications. So what that's just telling us is that the road has a car park on it and it's all level. What we have then is we have our formation width. So the width of the road then is our 12. We have our formation level as 110. The side slopes for cutting of 1 is to 2, and the side slopes for embankment is 1 is to 2.5. And then we're going to do the earthworks like we did before. So we're going to be looking for cut, we're going to look for fill, and we're going to do then our road with our car park on it. So if we scroll down here, then what we have then is our solution. Now I'm going to do this on my sheet in a second, but just to have a quick look at the solution first, just to point out a couple of things. What we have with it is, and you'll see here very clearly, is that we have two different things being done. So you'll see here that for the road itself, you have the kind of general lines that we would have had before in these different positions. But then what you'll see is these dotted lines here. Okay, now what they're showing is basically telling us that when they've done it is that they've done the road, all of the road on one side, all of the road on the other side before they ever did anything with the car park. And you'll see the same thing happens with the dotted lines here. So this is a bit like what I was talking about the last day as well, where in a perfect world this would just flow into the other one, but that's not really how it works. What we kind of always need to do is to find one, then find the other, and where they meet is where our line goes. So the line for this one will come along, get to here, and then turn up to this one. But we need those lines and this line to be able to find where the point actually happens. So that's where the dashed lines are coming from in that. Now what you'll then see as well is that once the road has been done, they treat each side of the road separately. Okay, so there is the side of the road here, which has this line that goes with it. You have the side of the road over here, which is these two go together. And then there is the other side end of the car park here where this one goes. And again, we get these dash lines and dash lines where you continue on the two sides until they meet. So they're showing what's going on once it goes a little bit too far. But the line then for our actual earthworks goes out to here, out to this point here, and then turns in and comes back in around on the other side. And you'll see here again, there's some dotted lines in there as well for what we're looking at with these. Now, the thing to remember with this before we go to do the question on our sheet is because the question on the sheet, because I made that from the book, it is blown up, which means that the actual solution to this isn't going to be exactly the same as is in the book, because the book is kind of at one scale, but I've blown it up onto the A4 sheet from the book for what you've given, so it won't look exactly like this. It'll look similar, but not exactly the same. When it comes to looking at it. So when you have your one finished, just bear in mind that yours will look ever so slightly different than this one. Okay, so we'll go and have a look at the sheet then. Okay, girls, so I have started this off just to cut out having to watch me do all the stuff that we've already done before. But what I need to make sure to do in this again with our steps is to draw our triangles over to the side, and then make sure that once we have our ratios is to multiply them up by what the ground contours are. So in this case the ground contours are in 2s. So I multiplied everything by 2 and I got my cut
was going to be 2 is to 3 when it was multiplied up, which means that I'm going to be coming out from the road in 3mm intervals every time I'm doing a cut. And then for my fill, I am coming out 4 every time I am doing a different interval when I'm coming out for the fill. So once that's done, then it's about going back to your road and making sure that you put what your formation level is at each one of your points. So in this case, it's level. So at each one of our points, the road is at 110. Then we go and we look and we see where the cut and where the fill is. So it was looking along here and seeing whether it was below the road or above the road, and we said that fill was going to be always when the road was above the ground contour. So in this case, the road is at 110 and it remains being fill, so 106, 104, 102, 104, 106, 108, 110 until here. So we have all of this as fill, same on the other side, until they get to these two, this ground contour line here. And then after that, then it starts being cut because the level of the ground ends up being higher than the level of the road. So once you have your cutting your fill done for your road, okay, done individually, so that's always where we start with these. We do them into sections. So we have the section for the road and then we have the section for the car park. Now, well, we then start going into looking at the car park, but just bear in mind that I haven't put in my lines here for my cut of my fill in heavy yet because of the car park. Now, thing is, on the far side, so on this side, we can put it in. So I can actually draw in this in heavy. So this will be my row coming along here. And again, with my little tadpoles to say where there's cut or fill, make sure at the top of the hill, and it's going to go down. So the higher part is going to go down. So that's going to be what my fill is going to look like. And then my cut then is the opposite, which will be hard to do with this. So it's from the top coming down. Okay, when we're looking at doing those. So once we have that done, then we go looking at the car park. Now the thing about the car park is that because it's level, each side of the car park is basically like its own individual road. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with C to D first, then I'm going to deal with D to E, and then F to E. Okay, so what we're looking at with this is we're looking at again whether we have cut or whether we have fill again. So with the car park is we have C to D, it's all 110, so it's going to be, that's 106, 108 and 110. So all the way up until this very small little bit at the bottom, it is all going to be fill. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about it going that little tiny little bit there. If it's pretty close, so we can bear that that's where it's going to end up. So I'm going to be doing on this side, it's going to be fill. Just for myself, I'm looking at. So fill, I'm going to come out then with in my 4s. So I'm going to come out my 4mm intervals. So my 4s, and if you set this question up with your 30-degree set square, it makes it much easier to put everything in because the road, that's a 60 degrees and this is a 30 degrees, so it makes it a little bit easier for you. So 110, we have 108, 106, 104 and 102, and we can put in our line coming on there. So what I get then is my 106, so 106 is here, 108, then it'll come down to here, and then my 104 then would be this line here. So what I get here is my line coming along through there, okay, and you'll notice there where it meets. Then I am going to go and have a look at this side. So this side is 110 still, and I have my 112, my 114, and the 116 coming out here a little bit further. So that is going to be looking at being cut. So with my cut then, it is at 3mm intervals. So I'm going to come with my cut. So out in my 3s. And drawing my lines. Don't worry too much about how far you bring your construction lines here, in terms of how far down here, because it doesn't make really any difference because when they're constructions, they can go as far as you really want them to go. So 108, sorry, 112, 114. So when it's cut, they're always getting higher up. 116, 118. So what I'll get then is 112, 114, 116, and 118. Now, this is where, with the last one, because it's coming so close to D, we're just going to bring it down here and bring it as if it was just going to go to the corner. Okay, now it's an unusual situation. It wouldn't normally be like, you wouldn't normally do this, but because it's so close there, we're just going to leave it as it is like that. Now, what would probably be a good idea is to just bring this one up another one to the 120, just to make sure that the one that comes across here does cross. Okay, so I'm going to come another one along here and get my 100 and get my 120. Bring my line out. Okay, then that's that side done, and then I'm finally going to do this last side. So if these are at 110, I have 112, 114 again, and 118. So I'm going to continue to be cutting. So I'll have, I said this side was cut, this side was cut as well. So come out in my 3s. Okay, draw my lines down. So putting in my labels. Labels are really important on this to make sure that you're getting your heights at the right place. So 118 and 120. Okay, so I have then my 112. Now what's a good idea is to just bring this, because this doesn't meet up to here. What I'm going to do is bring the road across, because that's at 110, so I can find where that 110 hits the 110 interval. So it just gives me another line, another point here to be able to continue this line on. So 114 at this one, 116 at this one, and 118 at this one. And what I get then is that when I join those up, is I get these lines that are all kind of crossing, okay? And what we're looking to do here is to get one continuous line between each one of these on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this one comes along to the point until they meet. Then I'm going to come across like that. These are going to go as far as here. These are where my heavy lines are going, and then up along as far as that. Okay, so what we get then is we get one more little symbol that goes into these, which are these kind of C-shaped curves. And what you have is that these are going to be C-shaped curves with the kind of points of the C on the lower side of where we're going. So this is always where two meet. Okay, so if I'm looking at this being the height of this being above the road, okay, I'm going to have these kind of downward C's with the points facing down the hill. Okay, so points facing down the hill here. So I get these downward C's. And then when it comes to the fill part, then what you will be looking at is we want to make sure that again it goes down towards the lower side. Okay, so what we have is, if this is getting lower in its fill, is that the C's are going to be facing this way. Okay, in that. And of course, not to forget then to put in the little tadpoles in here to show whether it's cut or whether it's fill. And that is then that question completed. Okay, so the important thing with that is to just always make sure that when you're doing road geometry questions is to split it up into different bits. So we had split up into the road part, did the entire road, then split it up into the car park, and split the car park up into the different sides. Okay, and when we had them split up into the different sides, we got our different got our different earthworks lines, and where they all met then gave us the our line going all the way around the outside and around on the other outside there. Okay,